لقد كان لكم في رسول الله أسوة حسنة لمن كان يرجو الله واليوم الآخر وذكر الله كثيرا.
I'm going to close with a brief quote that goes back to the hadith that the Shaykh mentioned, that the 2 feet of the human being would not go forward from the presence of their Rabb on Yawm al-Qiyamah until they're questioned about 5 things. In Riyadh al-Salihin, the Shaykh al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah, in his explanation of Riyadh al-Salihin, he mentions this hadith came, Imam Nawawi mentioned about 5 or 6 hadith related to Yawm al-Qiyamah and the punishment in the hellfire and the horrors of the day of resurrection and questioning and accounting. And this is the last of those hadith. And after the mention of this hadith and those other hadith, the hadith that mentioned the sun on Yawm al-Qiyamah being so close to the human being that it will be the distance of 1 mile. And whether that mile means a mile that we measure on the earth today, or it means the instrument that's used for quhl, to put in the eye. In either case, if the sun is 93 million miles away from the earth, if it was brought 1 mile away, what would the heat be like if it's like it is right now when it's 85 degrees or 90 degrees? What would it be like if it was 1 mile away? The people would be sweating. In some of the hadith it said that the sweat would go 70 dhira'an into the earth. It would sink into the earth, 70 cubits into the earth. And then it would begin to rise back up, and it would cover some people across their ankles, some people across their knees, some people across their waist, some people up to their mouths in sweat. From the sweat of the human beings, from the heat of the sun and the fear of the judgment of that day. The Shaykh said, after mentioning these hadith, he says, وهذه الأحاديث التي ذكرها المؤلف, meaning Imam Nawawi رحمه الله تعالى, كلها تدل على عظم يوم القيامة. All of these hadith, including the one that we mentioned in our class tonight, that no person will go forward from the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the questioning on that day until they are asked about these 5 things. He said all of these hadith indicate the magnificence, the greatness, the magnitude of Yawm al-Qiyamah, the greatness of this day. وَأَنَّ عَلَى الْمُؤْمِنِ أَنْ يَخَافَ مِنْ هَذَا الْيَوْمِ الْعَظِيمِ, and that it is incumbent upon a true believer, if a person really has iman, it's incumbent upon them to have fear of this tremendous day. And then he says, and here he summarizes some of the hadith that Imam Nawawi mentions in this chapter, and then he says, وَذَكَرَ عَيْدًا أَحَدِيث أُخْرَى فِيهَا التَّحْذِيرِ مِنْ نَارِ جَهَنَّمِ. And he has also mentioned other hadith, meaning Imam Nawawi mentioned other hadith, فِيهَا التَّحْذِيرِ, in them is the warning, or the taking precaution, that a person should take precaution and be warned against the fire of Jahannam. And in these hadith is an indication that a person should take precautions, should protect himself from the fire of hell. It is severe. نسأل الله لنا والمسلمين السلام منها. The Shaykh says, and we ask Allah for us and for the Muslims, والمسلمين السلام منها, that would be safe from it. Then the Shaykh closes by saying, والحاصل أن الإنسان إذا قرأ هذه الأحاديث وغيرها مما لم يذكره المؤلف. So what, the summary of the matter is that the human being, the insan, if he reads or if she reads these hadith and other than these hadith from hadith that the author, meaning Imam Nawawi, didn't mention, when a person reads these hadith, فَإِنَّ الْمُؤْمِنِ يَخَافُ وَيَحْذَرُ, then indeed the believer will fear these matters and will take precaution from them. وَلَيْسَ بَيْنَ الْإِنسَانِ وَبَيْنَ هَذَا, and there's nothing between the human being and this, this standing before Allah on Yawm al-Qiyamah. لَيْسَ بَيْنَ الْإِنسَانِ وَبَيْنَ هَذَا إِلَّا أَنْ يَنْتَهِيَ أَجْلُهُ فِي الدُّنْيَا. There's nothing separating us from this day of standing, this frightful affair, except that a person's lifespan, the time of their lifespan in this world ends. Which one of us knows that we're going to live another day or another week or another month? Which one of us knows the ajal, the appointed term that Allah has given to us in this world? The only thing that remains between us and this frightful affair is the coming of our lifespan to its end. And that could happen at any time, only Allah knows. The Shaykh said, there's nothing between the human being and this affair except that his lifespan, his appointed term in this dunya ended. ثم ينتقل إلى دار الجزاء, and then that person goes to the next place, the place of jaza, and the place of recompense, where a person would be rewarded, good for good and evil for evil. لأنه ينتهي العمل, because when a person dies, when their ajal is finished, then they go on to the next place, because there's no more deeds to be done. Therefore the place of accounting, a person reaches the place of recompense for their deeds.